when we think of equations, we think of the short-term benefit.
Yes.
And that's fine. There's always short-term benefits and liabilities. There's no problem with that. But we also have to consider the long-term benefits and liabilities, especially it's in if we consider relationships or careers or, life, these things are not finite games.
Right. Which is,
they keep going, and to think about them as sort of these, I don't know what the word is, these unique experiences that don't exist in any context.
there's
a word for it. I can't remember what it is. But when you think of these events as discrete packets that have no consequences before or after, that there's no context.
Right.
I think it's just blind. I mean, of course there's context. There's context for everything.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
But what's the, I think I saw something you're talking about, was it like self-actualization versus shared actualization, right?
Yeah.
Because we're living in a time, everyone wants to be self-actualized.
Yeah.
And we're saying that people now, it's like a very selfish, me oriented world, right? Yeah. What did you mean by shared? Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah. I mean, I think that especially the United States over-indexed on the concept of rugged individualism.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see it play out in how we, what our guidance counselors tell us, what our bosses tell us, the incentive structures and reward systems in our universities and in our businesses, which is, it's all individual performance.
Right.
And we pay little to no consideration to teamwork, or did you serve the team or did you serve yourself? And that has cost,
right,
to the team. It basically goes to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which is where the self-actualization came from.
That's the top of his.
I think Maslow was wrong, right? So Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the base of the pyramid is food and shelter. That you need that first, and the third rung up is human relationships, and at the top of the pyramid is self-actualization. So you're supposed to work your way up the hierarchy of needs until you can get to self-actualization. And what Maslow's mistake is that he only thinks of us as individuals, but what he fails to consider is that we're also simultaneously members of groups. Every single one of us, every single day, lives in paradox. We are individuals. I want my own identity. I want my own individuality. I want to self-express. All of those things, all true. And simultaneously, I'm a member of a family. I'm a member of a church. I'm a member of a team. I'm a member of a company. I'm a member of a synagogue, whatever. I have membership, and I have responsibility in the group.
Right.
And there's a debate. Do I put myself first at the sacrifice of the group, or do I put the group first at the sacrifice of myself? And and some will say, there's a whole school of thought that says you always prioritize yourself, because if you don't help yourself, you can't help others. And they always give the same stupid analogy, which is when you're in a plane, you put your mask on before you can help somebody else. That's a crashing plane. Not a good analogy, right? That's a crashing plane with no air in it.
Right.
Correct. You have to put yourself first. Correct. Right. That's not a good analogy for life.
Right.
But then there's a school of thought that says, no, you have to help others always first. Otherwise, the group will never be there to help you. But that's martyrdom. And sometimes you get to it to a point where you actually do destroy yourself because you're trying so hard to help everybody else, put everybody else first.
Right.
The answer is both. It's a paradox. It's complicated. And so where Maslow got it wrong is he failed to consider us as members of groups, which is why he put food and shelter first, which is true as an individual. But I've never heard of anybody dying by suicide because they were hungry.
Right.
You die by suicide because you're lonely, which is the third thing up, but it seems more important than food, right? And so how selfish is it that we work to self-actualization and we metaphorically literally sit on, not literally and metaphorically, but metaphorically sit on top of a pyramid looking down at all the unself-actualized people? How selfish that we live a life so that we can get to the top of a pyramid, as opposed to shared actualization. Like, how do we take as many people with us to find joy, love, fulfillment, safety? Come, let's go on that journey together to the top of the pyramid. Is that not my responsibility as a member of the group? To take as many people with me as possible, to look out for them, to take care of the weak ones and not let the strong ones get too ahead of themselves because we're a part of a team. Oh, by the way, the thing that I'm describing is called leadership. Mm-hmm. But isn't that what we're supposed to be doing? We have an entire section in the bookshop called self-help, and we have no section in the bookshop called help others. And we have entire industries that are literally telling us how we can find happiness, how we can find love, how we can find the perfect job. And yet no one is teaching us how we can help our friends find love, and how we can help our friends find the job of their dreams, and how we can help our friends find happiness. And that is a skill set equal to the skill set of helping oneself. They both have value. I'm not rejecting taking care of oneself, but I'm telling you that there's also another part of this equation. And I think that we've overdone this one, and you see it reflected now. Even the way we've commercialized and we've miraculously made things like meditation and yoga selfish, right? How can I love it? I feel so present, right? It's like I feel present. Now, yes, there are absolutely benefits to meditation. We know the benefits of taking care of oneself and finding that mindfulness, right? We know all those social and medical benefits. But the reason we practice meditation, and think about it, meditation is you sit still, you focus on one thing, whether it's a mantra or your breath or whatever it is, and you put everything else out of your mind. And if you have a thought, you label it a thought and you say, I'll deal with that later. And you find this incredible calm and peacefulness that comes. The reason we call it a practice is so you can practice it for others, not just for yourself. Yes, we know the benefits to you. Have you ever taken that practice and given it to others? So when they're sitting there telling you their problems, that you're not just thinking of the thing that you want to say next. You're not just thinking how you can fix their problems. Or they tell you about their great day and you interrupt them and tell them about your great day. But rather because you've been practicing this mindfulness, that you can sit completely quietly, focused on one thing and one thing only is what they're telling you. And if something goes bang over there, you actually don't turn your head because you're so focused, and you have a thought and you label it a thought and you put it out of your mind and say, I'll deal with it later because right now I'm focused on the person I'm with. And at the end of that interaction, you will know you were present when they tell you you were. We are not present until someone tells us we are present. And they will say things like, thank you for listening. They will say things like, I feel heard. They will say, thank you for being present with me, holding space for me. Congratulations, all that hard work you've been doing meditating was now also for the benefit of another. And what we also know is that the medical science on this, for all the benefits of mindfulness for oneself, are multiplied by 10 when you do it for someone else.
By 10?
Service. Omar
Service,
Brownson talks
yes.
about this. He specializes in gratitude.
Right, yes.
And he talks about the difference. The way he labels it is mindfulness versus heartfulness, you know? And he and I talked about how mindfulness is about me and I'm in my head, but heartfulness is about someone else, right? And he has the data that there's 10x medical benefit to the service of mindfulness rather than the taking of mindfulness. It has benefit. And I'm not saying
no, you're right.
Not do this. I'm saying also do this, you know?
I know the study you're talking about. It's actually it's in this book that I just wrote, but it's about I say not service. I say the word gratitude, because people think that if they journal in the gratitude, they journal that's having gratitude, but it's actually the act of like telling somebody thank you or sort of like basically turning it on its head to somebody else. The effects are like tenfold, which is I think the same thing.
And in our fast-paced, social media world, I think we've conflated some of these human practices, and we've sort of mixed them up a little bit. One of my favorites is people who put these beautiful posts on Instagram with them as babies being held by their dad, and it says "Happy Birthday, Dad" or "Happy Father's Day, Dad." Your dad's not on Instagram. Like, who are you telling? Like, who are you? Like, who are you? Like, your dad? What? Did you call your dad? Totally happy. You're the best sister. Happy Siblings Day. Did you call your sibling? I find that funny.
I find it so phony and bullshit is what I call it.
And or that we talk about vulnerability when you talk about your breakup or the hard thing you're going through, and you're sitting by yourself in your room talking to your phone. By the way, that may not be the first take. And it might be the fourth take that I'm doing this because it was sort of the lighting was bad. And I put that on TikTok. Preach. I put that on TikTok and I say, vulnerability for everyone to learn from. That's not vulnerability, that's broadcasting. Now go say those exact words to a person, which is way more difficult. And I think for us to practice true vulnerability, which is to sit with somebody, whether in pain or joy, which is to sit across from them, or to the very minimum pick up the telephone versus a text and say, I just want you to know I love you and I care about you and you are one of my best friends and I will be there for you in thick and thin no matter what. And I know that you would be there for me. And I just want you to know how grateful I am for this friendship and for you, right? Do that to somebody. Or sit in pain with them and saying, I'm struggling. You and I have had a fight and I'm up every night because of it. It hurts me. And I don't know where it came from. The words you said to me the other day hurt me like a knife, right? Go say that to the person as opposed to broadcasting it. Because that doesn't actually, it gives you a salve. It makes you feel a little bit better for the few minutes you've done it.
Does it? Or is it more for the other people on social media?
It has to have some benefit
to get a
oneself.
like or a follow.
I mean, that would be really cynical of us to say. But I have to believe it has some
You're
benefit.
the optimist. I never said I was.
Fair. I'm still cynical though.
Yeah.
There, of course, there's some benefit, but the problem is it's a short-term benefit. Whereas you and I both know that to get in the shit with someone, professionally, personally, to get in the shit with someone, almost always, you come out with clarity, better understanding, and usually a much better relationship.
Totally.
Almost always. Struggle is some of the best thing that can happen in a relationship. Shared hardship actually releases oxytocin in our bodies. Everybody's all about dopamine and oxytocin. And oxytocin comes from many, many reasons. Some healthy, some not healthy. But one of the healthy ways that we get oxytocin is shared hardship. Have somebody go take some Marines and put them in combat together. Mm-hmm. Those Marines will come back in love with each other. They will love each other.
It's shared experience.
Shared hardship in particular. Shared hardship, shared struggle actually create strong bonds. If there's a hurricane that comes through, all of a sudden who you voted for doesn't matter at all. Mm-hmm. I got you, right? I got you.
I totally agree. I mean, how much time do you spend on social media? You have a lot of followers and all that other jazz. Are you constantly looking at your phone? Are you constantly doing all that stuff? Like, what's your ratio?
Well, I mean, I have all my notifications turned off on my telephone, except for texts and phone calls. I get 0 notifications if I got an email. I get 0 notifications if anybody posted or liked or anything on any social media ever, right? So I don't have that dopamine, ding, ding, ding. I don't have it. But like anyone, I can go down a rabbit hole. If I'm feeling a little bit down or lonely, of course I go swiping for goodness. And my goodness, the algorithm on TikTok.
Oh my.
I'll just spend 10 minutes and 2 hours later.
Tell me about that. That to me is
there's some funny, talented, entertaining people out there.
Amazing.
And they're brilliant and wonderful. And that algorithm is astonishing.
It is astonishing.
It is astonishing. Yeah. It is astonishing how good it is and how it just feeds me everything I want to see better than anything else. But I'm also fully aware, I can't do it that often. I know that if I open that TikTok app, I am fully aware that I am not in control of myself.
100%.
I am fully aware that time will evaporate. And I know that I'm going to sit in bed and then all of a sudden I'm going to stop because I'm falling asleep and I realize it's 1 o'clock in the morning.
Totally.
So I know not to turn the app on, but I would say that my social media interaction is mostly healthy only because I have all the notifications turned off. So right. I don't even the buttons, the count of how many emails you have. I have none on the little envelope on my phone.
Gosh, you're
blank.
Yeah, that's
it's blank.
So good.
Not because I don't have emails. It's because I only find out if I'm I think I'll check my email now, open up the email app and I see all the new emails.
Oh, good.
So I don't have notifications turned on
So you basically controlled your environment that way. So you know that you have you're taking away the ability to kind of go down those things.
And my phone is always, the ringer is always turned off. It doesn't even vibrate. So I literally don't know if anything's coming in unless I pick it up to look. So I don't have that dopamine thing. I make a practice of when I'm out with friends that I put my phone on a different seat. I don't put it on a table. I put it out of reach. I can't see it on purpose.
On purpose,
because I understand the addictive qualities of the device. And so, it's like the first thing you do with an alcoholic is you take all the alcohol out of the house because We just don't have that kind of willpower. It's not because they're weak. It's because none of us have that kind of willpower to resist. And so to think that we're so strong that we can resist the dopamine powers of our cell phones and social media is just wrong.